Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly. Today's a bit different because of daylight savings, so we've had to move back a bit for the people in the United Kingdom and around Greenwich Mean Time. Essentially, we moved from 7 to 8 p.m., which is the same as the time in Lagos. So welcome once again to Crypto Pulse Weekly. Interesting stuff today. I'll be quick, but yeah, as usual, we have a number of interesting topics to discuss. So firstly, let's get into the meat of the stories as we review what's happening on the markets. We'll talk about the vital signs, which are, the metrics we're looking at, and some of the stuff we talked about last week that have played out already in the past 1 week. And then we'll do a little bit of knowledge sharing. Today, I'm going to be talking about some tokens I think you might want to buy and hold for a few months for some decent profits. So let's get into market updates. As you are aware, the scenario that I was predicting last week has come to pass, and that is the breaking of the ascending triangle. I'll show you the ascending triangle when we get to discussing the technical analysis. Basically, we've now been comfortably sitting about above 40K, no doubt about that. Secondly, we've now flipped 45K, which was what I said last week, that if we comfortably and successfully flip 45K, then we are positioning ourselves for a good attempt at 50,000 Bitcoin. A very interesting metric as well is that if you bought Bitcoin on April 1st, every single year for the last 10 years, you will have made profit in 2 weeks. So if you buy Bitcoin today, I guarantee you in 2 weeks' time, you'll be in profits. I don't know why that is, but it just happens to have been a very interesting coincidence that everybody that's bought Bitcoin on the 1st of April or the last 10 years will usually be in profit in less than 2 weeks or more. Having said that, I think what's important is the fact that we've flipped 45K. We've tried to break down below 45K. It's not been successful. And I think there is significant buy pressure. Because of that, we're likely to see Bitcoin sitting around the 40s for the next few weeks or days before shooting upward. And of course, shooting upward by means going back to 50K. If it goes back to 50K, then we'll start to see a lot more volume coming because many people believed it was going to 7K or 10K or 20K or whatever whatever the predictions they had at the time. But technically speaking, we've regained 40K. So it means that the price is comfortable above 40K and will look to break upward in the coming days or weeks. In terms of sentiments, very bullish. Even though we've had a dip today, I would say the sentiment is quite bullish because the dip we had is basically like what you call a retest of support, a retest of resistance flip support, as they say. So I think that's expected. But we'll come to that when we're talking about the technical analysis. In terms of regulation, I told you about Russia wanting to accept Bitcoin for oil. They've said now that all countries buying gas from them must pay them in ruble. I think that they might be digging their own grave because the only people that will be left buying from them will be China and Russia. And I think Europe has been buying a significant amount from them. So at the end of the day, I think what will happen is Europe will decide to go full nuclear. America has decided to open up the emergency reserves. So there's going to be some shake in the dynamics because I think China will probably benefit the most. China will be looking for the cheapest markets because they're growing at a massive rate. Same thing with India. Russia will probably not be able to sell as much as they would like to going forward. Unfortunately, I can't but think about my own dear Nigeria. But apart from the fact that I used to work as an IT consultant, I used to work a lot with clients in the oil and gas sector. So I said at some point I worked with the biggest gas company in Africa. And it was sad to see that as successful as that company was, just for pure political reasons, we could not replicate that model across the country because really and truly, there was really nothing stopping us as a country from having like 10 or 5 of Nigeria LNG across the country because we do have the reserves. The reserves are just there. And there are customers all over the world. In this kind of scenario, if we were where we were supposed to be in terms of gas production, everybody will be coming to Nigeria now to get gas because, we will have enough to supply them. Unfortunately, we're not, they say that preparedness meets opportunity. We're not there yet, sadly. So I'll pass on that story before I get distracted. Anyways, that dynamic is going to make sure that, oil and gas prices are going to be high for a while, and including food. But I don't want to talk about that. That's commodity price, but I don't want to talk about that now. In terms of regulation, there was a law that was passed in the European Union this week that will demand that companies, custodial companies, wallet custodial companies in the EU demand KYC. I mean, that completely jeopardizes the whole principle of decentralization. So I think it's going to fail because it's very difficult to implement in the first instance. And secondly, people will just go and look for companies that are operating outside the EU. And the fact that we already have countries like El Salvador that have gone all in on Bitcoin would make people go and register their company there, and people will just stop using those services. That's the implication of it, because what they want is they want KYC on. So if you open a Trust Wallet or you open a Binance Smart Wallet or you open Clever or my Ethereum wallet, they want KYC on it. It's also it shows the degree of lack of understanding of legislators, even in the advanced economies, on the issues of crypto and blockchain. It just reveals the level of ignorance. But we'll see how that pans out in the coming years. Let's see. In terms of two things that have happened over the last 1 week. One, we've seen that 45K level broken. We've gone as high as almost as 48K. Now we're tapping on 45K again. If we sit on 45K for the next 1 week, good chances will start going up. My prediction is that April, May, June will probably be bullish for Bitcoin, or April, May at the minimum. But I think it'll be April, May, June will be bullish for Bitcoin and crypto generally. So we're likely to see a boom in the coming months, and that's why I said I was going to give some coins that I think are, to be considered seriously right now for buying. For people who already, have their their portfolios down. Now actually is a good time to do the dollar cost averaging, because I tell you, you will see some real drastic price movements in the coming months. Like I've said, I still stand by my prediction that we'll see a new all-time high. What we've seen this year is enough to have sunk the whole crypto economy. But as I will show you in the news, some of the news, the investments keep getting bigger. The background plays keep getting bigger. So, companies are taking positions secretly and overtly, without making so much noise, buying up stakes, mergers and acquisition, purchases, divestments here and there. All that is happening, even though the price seems to be stable. And there is massive buying going on by institutions. Having said that, an important milestone happened this week for Bitcoin, in which the 19th million Bitcoin was mined. What does that mean? There are 21 million Bitcoins in supply. There's ever going to be, going to be 21 million Bitcoins. Having only 21 million Bitcoins ever means that there is a scarcity, there's a defined scarcity. And what that means is that once the whole of the 21 million is mined, there's no more Bitcoin to be mined. So what will happen in that instance is miners are going to get paid based on transaction charges that they collect when you conduct transactions on the blockchain. But what I suspect is going to happen as well is that there'll be a lot of level 2 transactions. So there'll be very far and few in between blockchain transactions happening directly on the blockchain of Bitcoin. So things like Lightning will probably become very popular because all of a sudden people realize that it's faster. Of course, it's faster. And secondly, you don't need to settle on the Bitcoin network when you can settle on Lightning, and then Lightning will do the secondary settlement or reconciliation on the Bitcoin network. So that's definitely going to be in play. But it's important to know that you only have 2 million Bitcoins left to be mined. And in the spirit of that, MicroStrategy have decided to, go all out again. If this man is still alive in 10 years' time, I think he'll be one of the richest men in the world. Simply, by betting on Bitcoin. I think he's very, very closely going to be, if not the richest man in the world, because what he keeps doing, I think is something that for many years to come will be covered in business schools, about how somebody was dollar cost averaging his equity and the profits of his company into Bitcoin over a period of time. He's already like 2 billion plus deep in Bitcoin, and the investment has doubled. His own company market cap has doubled as well, more than doubled actually, on the back of the investment in Bitcoin. And I think he's one of those few people in the world that truly gets it. And I keep saying that because I think I see myself in him as somebody who understands business and somebody who is also a technologist. So he's not just a businessman who's an entrepreneur. He's a technologist, a techie guy who understands not just technology, but business and the history of technology. And he's able to piece together what is happening. And everybody seems to be looking at him now like, he's crazy, or maybe he's a zealot. But I think he's one of the very few people, apart from Bitcoin maximalists, that truly, truly gets it and, understands what is really going on with the evolution of money. I continue to study. I mean, it's my personal case study to study, what he does, because I hope that one day I'll fashion my company like his as well. That you just keep buying Bitcoin with your balance sheet, and you're just good. You're just good like that. Anyways, moving on. The city of Rio, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, now accepts crypto as tax payments. Many people will remember that we talked about Miami, city of Miami in Florida, and other cities actually aiming to accept crypto for payments of utilities and all that. And as a result, as a matter of fact, I think they even went ahead in Miami to try to create their own token. But now Rio is joining the fray. And what I think will happen is, and it's already happening. So for students of macroeconomics and world politics, something is going on right now that threatens the reign of the dollar, essentially, in a way that has not happened in the last 50 years. What do I mean? Because of the sanctions against Russia, who is like one of the top 5 economies in the world, Russia is beginning to create fractions or factions, let me use that word, factions in the Committee of Nations, with people who are seemingly sympathetic to their plight. What do I mean? So they've looked at people who are either in neutral stance or fully in support of their, invasion of Ukraine, and they decided that, you know what, let's do business. So they're talking to China, they're talking to India, they're talking to Saudi, they're talking to Turkey, What they're trying to do is to say, let's create an alternative payment system so that this SWIFT that they've locked us out of, we can create our own payment system and you do our interbank settlement with ourselves. The last set of world leaders or national leaders that tried that, they got taken out. What do I mean? It's common history. I mean, Gaddafi was working on something like that. Same thing was Saddam Hussein was trying to use gold. So I think just solely on the basis of that, I think the days of Putin are numbered. But, but I think that the US is not going to react kindly to it, because what it means is it's going to defragment the United States dollar very fast. I mean, it doesn't take anything away from the US ab initio, because US is still the biggest economy in the world. Well, we can say next to China, but technically they're still the biggest economy in the world. You still have a lot of innovation and brains, and at least for this generation, I think US is sorted in terms of human capital and in terms of economy. They just need to get the acts right politically. However, I think they're going to launch an all-out attack against that move that Russia is trying to make with India and China to bypass the dollar standard. I know that the Middle Easterns too are already giving America a cold shoulder in that regard, but it's something interesting I think is going to play out, and I think the end of it will probably be a central bank digital currency of some sorts. I've mentioned it before. I think we're getting closer. Maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, we're going to see it happen. Anyway, let's move on to other things. Industry happenings, as I like to call them. This exchange called Kraken is one of the big exchanges in the US. Is owned by the Winklevoss twins. No, that's Gemini. Sorry, that's Gemini. Kraken is one of the big exchanges in the US, and they've added Lightning Network to their services. So let me explain what Lightning Network does. Lightning Network is what you call a layer 2 network for Bitcoin. What does a layer 2 network mean? A layer 2 network means a network that is designed to take traffic away from the primary blockchain network and then settle back into the blockchain network at intervals far bigger than what the normal blockchain network would do. So let me explain in layman's language, an accountant's language is actually a bit better. If you take in accounting, if you take what you call control accounts or reconciliation accounts, reconciliation accounts are like accounts that have what you call subledgers in them. So like debtors and creditors is a good example of how companies keep their reconciliation accounts. So in those reconciliation accounts, for people who are not non-accountants, what happens is they have a big register called debtors, meaning people that owe us money. Then they have a big account called creditors, meaning people we owe money. So the people we owe money, called creditors, are accounts payable. The people that owe us money, accounts receivable. Under each of those categories, you now have line items that represent each of those debtors or creditors. So each of those debtors or creditors are called subledgers in finance or in accounting. So those subledgers are treated in a way that they sum up to the total sum of either the debtors or the creditors. So let's bring back that into blockchain. For blockchain, the primary network, in this case, Bitcoin network, is the control accounts, which has all the, in this case, let's say the debtors. Now, the layer 2 network is like one of those, the layer 2 network is like one of those subledger accounts that settles into the control accounts. So the way the layer 2 network works is that it works like its own blockchain, but it takes its validity from the primary blockchain. So let's say Bitcoin network does every 10 minutes, it settles a block. Lightning Network, what it does is that it can settle at the speed of light, really speaking, I mean, realistically speaking. But because it's a lighter network, it's able to process faster and do the settlement immediately. For anybody to be on the Lightning Network, they need to have a number of wallets, and they need to have a, how do I put it now? It's almost like a cooperative. That's how the Lightning Network work. So if let's say if I'm a vendor, let me use the example. If I'm a company that offers payment services and I'm using Lightning Network, the way it will operate is that when I want to send money, when you want to send money to your friend on that app, you send money and the money gets there immediately. But what's happening is that because that company is on the Lightning Network, the blockchain transaction is happening immediately because all the participants are there on the network with it. So there is less validation because all the participants are already known. However, each time that the block is being generated in the Bitcoin's blockchain, you will find an entry from the Lightning Network containing the details of all the transactions that has happened. So it will almost be like a summary posting. Sorry, I'm using too much accounting in this example. It's the closest thing that comes to my mind to explain how it works. So it's like you are batching something together. You are batching and posting documents, or you are grouping stuff. Let's use desktop computing. You are putting files into a folder. Now, if you are sending the files by email, it means that you need to zip the folder, then attach it. Now, if you take the folder as the block of transaction that was posted on the Lightning Network, and you zip it and you send it to the email, what you're doing is like you're posting those transactions on the primary network. So Lightning Network, in simple terms, is a layer 2 network that does its eventual settlement on the layer 1 network. It's the same technology or ideology that technologies like Matic, what's this other one? Arbitrum. I can't remember all of them now, but Matic and Arbitrum are the ones that come to my mind now. They are layer 2 networks that settle into Ethereum's blockchain. So it's the same way that Lightning works. Lightning is not so popular because people don't really know. It's only people who are deep into Bitcoin that even understand how it works. But it's the same philosophy from a design perspective. So, well, I don't know why they're just joining now. I would have thought that they would have done that way back. Anyways, moving on. Binance is listed as Grammy sponsor. Why is this important? It is important because before our very eyes, these seeming internet or blockchain companies with little or no valuation are beginning to amass equity and valuation of multinational proportions. I think in the next 10 years, blockchain companies will be the biggest companies in the world at this rate. And there are indices and there are signs in the sky, if you will. So if you remember last year, Staples Center got renamed to Crypto.com Center because they bought the naming right for maybe 10 or 20 years. I don't know. The same Crypto.com and FTX, for instance, have been sponsoring all sorts of teams in F1 and all the motor racing. At some point, Binance bought, I think, 200 billion stakes in Forbes. So little by little, these guys are beginning to make inroads into traditional companies. I would not be surprised if one of the big company, big banks, gets swallowed up. I would not be surprised at all because value is accruing big time to these companies. I mean, that's what I can see. And, Binance is now no longer that, shady, ambiguous company somewhere in the Caribbean or in Cyprus. They now have license in Oman. They have license in Qatar. I think they have in UAE as well, operating licenses as fintech blockchain companies. So I think we're seeing an evolution of a new era in terms of global multinationals. So like someone asked me, like, man, there's no better time. I think there's no better time to be working in blockchain than this time, honestly, because not only the skills, but the exposure and the growth that is going to happen is going to be significant. No doubt about that. It's going to be significant. So it's something, it's a good food for thought. There's another company called Prime Block. They're a mining company in the United States, and they're now attempting to list on NASDAQ. I mean, I said NASDAQ, NASDAQ. They're attempting to list on NASDAQ. NASDAQ is like, the stock exchange. It's a stock exchange company, and I think that deal is for like by 1.3 or 1.5 billion deal to be listed as a SPAC. People who are trading stocks will be familiar with the terminology SPAC. So they're going to be listed as a SPAC, but they're going to be listed on NASDAQ. I think that's huge because little by little, guys are popping up. First, it was Coinbase, and everybody thought Coinbase was a flop. But whether you like it or not, Coinbase is still listed. It's still standing, as it were. The only problem is that because they now need to operate in the US, it's now a huge bottleneck for them. And because they started in a very centralized manner from a legal entity point of view, so it's a huge problem for them to escape regulatory hurdles like people like FTX or Binance, who in a way have broken up their legal entities and made them independent. But it's important to see that these guys are getting listed on NASDAQ. Another SEC denial of Bitcoin ETFs. If you've been following this story, anytime I talk about it, you notice that SEC has refused to approve any spot ETF up till date. None has been approved in the United States. There is a reason. I mentioned the reason before. And I'm not surprised because they will want to, in a way, be sure that they have the control of the supply. Because they don't have control of the supply, SEC will not. I mean, the owners of SEC will not allow it. Let me use that word. Anyways, let's move on to technical analysis. I'm tired of this news item. The first thing I want to talk about is fear and greed index. Last week, we were as low as 26 last week. At some point, we got to like 50, 47 or so at the peak of last week. Then now, at 50. What does it tell me? It tells me that the bulls are back, and the excitement is beginning to gather. What does this mean, generally speaking? It means that, we're likely to see some major price movements, as I've said earlier on, in the coming months. Where are we in the psychology of things? I think we're back to optimism. People are beginning to feel like, okay, maybe we're not in the bear market after. We're not in the bear period after all. Maybe we are going to come out of the bear market. Maybe not. This is not the end. So I think that what's just covering that is 50K. If we succeed in flipping 50K in the month of April, guaranteed there will be a lot of FOMO. Let's get into the charts. I want to start with total market cap. Total market cap. So about a few weeks ago, I was talking about this total market cap chart. Just forget about the lines. And is there a way to hide it? I can't hide it. Well, I'd love to hide all drawings. I want to remove it. Excuse me. I can't hide it. I was trying to hide the drawings. Well, what I was saying a few days ago was that the overall market cap was forming a double bottom pattern on a long time frame, which was the daily chart. And that the significance of that was that it's a key reversal sign that shows that the market's about to change direction. And that's exactly what's happened. The market's changed direction from 1.6 trillion to currently almost 2.1 trillion. Yeah. 2.1 trillion plus as of yesterday. What does this mean? Well, it means that the market is now beginning an upward journey. Let me use that word. How fast it's going to get there, I don't know. I think near target is 2.2 trillion. 2.2 trillion should take us to close to 50K Bitcoin. And same thing with the value of altcoins. It's been going up as well. So 2.2 trillion, yes, will be close to 1.1 trillion Bitcoin, which is about 50K. So I think that's going to go up. I think every possible evil and bad scenario that could happen this year has already been priced into the market, especially into the price of Bitcoin. And we're going to start to see that reflected. It might not go as fast as we want it because Bitcoin is now being traded as a global commodity. I don't know if you are aware of that, but most Forex brokers that trade in commodities and metals, or CFDs, now offer products that allow you to trade the price of Bitcoin as if you're trading Forex. So what that means is the price of Bitcoin is now exposed to the global Forex market. That's what it means, global equities market. So the price might not move as drastically as it will move before, but you would definitely see the movements. So it's going to keep going up. There will be, there'll be drop downs here and there, technically speaking, but the price is going to keep going up because now people are suddenly going to realize that, oh, we now have only 2 million Bitcoins left, and the people who are yet to FOMO in will start FOMOing once we get to 50K. Again, I've left this particular chart, coming to Bitcoin now. I've left this particular chart the way it is because I wanted to show the analysis I made from basically from the beginning of January when we touched on this blue zone at 3K. And I said, the way the price has bounced off this zone, I don't think we're coming back anytime soon. We went all the way up. To 45 and then dropped back in February to 36, at some point actually to 34, creating a higher low scenario, meaning this low of 34 is higher than this low of 33. What that immediately creates is a possible reversal scenario, and that was why I drew these three orange lines. That this looks like an inverse head and shoulder, which is a reversal formation as well. And then the price popped back up again and came down here and made a higher low again on top of the initial lows. So the initial low here was 34, then here it became 37. At that point was when I was convinced that, okay, I think the price is going to start going up now. And what then happened was, I think that was when I drew this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 line. And the reason I drew the line was that it appeared that the price was trying to make an ascending triangle breakout. And what I said then was that I think the price was going to break out, then come back. That was when I drew this line. I think I drew this line last week or week before the last. And it's almost like it's followed to the letter because it's gone back up to 48K. And now we've attempted to come back. Chances are we can still come back to 42, but there's a lot of buying pressure now. So it might not be a successful comeback. I think the successful retest might stand at 45, which is why I drew this purple line, that we might see a retest of 45 because 45 was the line that these first two attempts were trying to break. Now that it's been broken this week, we've seen a retest. That retest is a confirmation that the reversal is in place from a technical standpoint. And what it means is that if we don't break below, even if we break below now and still come back here, we have a confirmation that the bullish times are here, essentially. So regardless of whether we come down to 43 or we go sideways for a few days, definitely we're headed to the 50s. And as a matter of fact, we're headed to the 50s. Once we flip 49, we're headed to the 50s, definitely. And of course, the major barrier will be at 55K after that. Of course, if we break 55K, then it's open skies. Again, what it means is if we break 55K and stay on top of 55K, then we are going back to all-time high and beyond. So that's what the price of Bitcoin looks like on the long term. And why do I show this? I show this to give some comfort to people who are worried about their portfolio and the seeming drastic loss of value in their portfolio. One thing I can assure you is that, of course, I know better, a lot better than 2 years ago. So I can tell you when I see reversal signs on a longer time frame now, I can tell you what it looks like. As a matter of fact, the day I see the reversal sign, or the week I see it, you will hear it from me on Crypto Pulse Weekly, and I'll say, guys, I think it's time you sell your bags. The same way I said that I was selling all my Shiba, and I told people to try to sell all their Shiba Inu, is that same way I'm going to tell you. The day I see the reversal sign on a higher time frame, I'm going to tell you, guys, it's time to count our gains or losses and and bank it. So that's really, yeah. Ethereum pretty much looks the same at this time. It's done its own double bottom. It's going off. I think we're going back to these levels, which is around 3,600 for Ethereum, 3,600 to 3,000 to 4,000. That's the range I think we're working with. Hold on a second. I thought I had a flip guide here before. Yeah, so 3,600 to 4,000. Yeah, I'm correct. So that's where I think we're going to in terms of the price for Ethereum in the near term. In terms of, yeah, somebody asked me about CRN. Yeah, somebody asked me about CRN last week. I said I was going to do some research. I've done my research, and I'm just going to say that I think now is the time to make some additional investments into some of the projects that are popping up. For the guys on the subscription, I've given some tokens that I think you should buy, not only because I think they're going to be profitable in the near term, also because we're about to see an explosion in the price of crypto or in the market capitalization of crypto. Anytime that happens, because most cryptos are calibrated against Bitcoin, the price sort of shoot up naturally. So today, I would say the guy that raised CRN, yeah, I think it's a good project. It's not, I don't see anything fantastic about the project, but because it's relatively new, it belongs to the CRO network, meaning the Kronos network is developed on the Kronos chain or Kronos ecosystem. Let me not say Kronos chain. It's developed on the Kronos ecosystem. There is very high likelihood that is going to get a lot of traction and noise. So yeah, so this is CRO nodes. I don't think it's owned by crypto.com. I think they just use that name. But it's a token that belongs to the Kronos ecosystem. And one thing about this ecosystem is that as long as the price of CRO continues to grow, many of these coins are going to grow because many of them are pegged to CRO anyway. So right now, I think it's done 50. Yeah, it's gone as high as $50. It's back down now to $5. What does that mean? It's 89% from all-time high. If you buy now, you have a high chance of the 10x on your investments. Of course, it's not a financial advice, but it's just simple crypto mathematics. The prices are down right now. Altcoins are flat out. And this guy is almost 10x from current price. In fact, I didn't see it in January. If I'd seen it in January, I'll be 5x already. So I think it's a good buy. For what it's worth, you can sell at 5x, or you can wait for 10x when it goes back to all-time high. But it will go back to all-time high. Definitely go back to all-time high. When Bitcoin starts pumping, everything will start pumping. Another one, and it's only available on the DeFi. It's only available on this Krona swap. Another one is Krona itself, which is Krona is the token for Krona swap. So Krona swap is like a DeFi platform, just like let me get the page. So Krona swap is a DeFi platform, just like Uniswap. but it's essentially and exclusively based on the Kronos network, which is CRO's network. It's cheap right now. I think one krona is I think one CRO is like 10 krona, something like, yeah, 5 krona. So one CRO is like 5, I think, yeah. And 10 CRO is like 50 or thereabouts. Yeah. So it's like 1 to 5 currently with CRO. Again, because most of these guys are pegged to CRO, when the CRO starts to pump, you're likely to see a price growth. The same way VVS, the same way VVS is down now. These guys, I think they're down. So Kronos is down like 10x. So Kronos, let's see. I didn't check the, yeah. So this used to be $1. It's, what's this? 8 cents now. Do your maths. But one thing I'm sure of is, again, when the price goes off, these are going to pump. So they're available on Chronaswap. That's the you can connect your DeFi wallet app.chronaswap.org. You can buy them with CRO, and CRO is the gas. Which brings me back to CRO. If you're looking for a significant long-term investment, I think you should consider CRO. I don't have CRO anymore like I used to, but I think you should consider CRO and anything that's working around the ecosystem. The reason is simple. They're following closely in line with Binance chain and everything that Binance is doing. So as long as Binance continues to gain traction, CRO is likely to continue to gain traction as well. And as a matter of fact, I think the CRO guys are more, I don't want to say more business savvy, but they are more, their marketing is much more than Binance. Binance has really grown mostly organically from whales and, retail investors. But CRO, I mean, Crypto.com, they have been spending like crazy on marketing. So I think you should consider them both for short-term gains this year and for long-term gains 2024, 2025 halving. They likely will do very well, most likely, especially because they already have a very established ecosystem and they're still going at it. So people are building projects on the Kronos network. So I think it's a good investment to consider. For people who are looking to cash out this year, I would say dollar cost average on your alts. Consider the alts I've given you now, and we're ready to cash out in a couple of months' time, because once the price gets to all-time high again, we'll see an Ethereum pump. It might be for a week. Once that pump is done, the market is done probably for another 6 months to 9 months. That brings me to the end of today's broadcast. Our Manchester Summit is going to now happen on Bank Holiday Day in May. It's no longer happening on Easter Monday. As I said last week, I considered moving it because a lot of people complained that it was clashing with Easter. So it's now going to be on 2nd of May, Michael Manchester Piccadilly, same place, same time, different dates. So thank you, everyone. If you don't have any questions, I'm happy to give you about 15 minutes of your time and wish you a very wonderful weekend. But if you do have questions, please go ahead if you have a question. If you don't have a question, then fine. For the guys on Instagram, thank you for joining, and see you again next week. Bye.